Hey guys, this is Substitute Topher, and today we are out in San Francisco, California, driving the all-new 2024 Mazda CX-90. This is an entirely new rear-wheel drive-based platform from Mazda. So I'm super excited to take you guys out on the road, show you what it's like to drive this thing today. We've got two powertrains for the CX-90. The one that we're in right now is the 2.5-liter plug-in hybrid, but they also offer a 3.3-liter turbo inline six car. We'll feature that car in a separate video, but for now, we're in the plug-in hybrid, so let's go over some specs on this car. So up front, we have a 2.5-liter four-cylinder mated to an electric motor. Combined power output is 323 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Power is sent to all four wheels via a wet clutch 8-speed automatic. So instead of a traditional torque converter, Mazda has gone with this wet clutch setup. So we'll have to see how that performs out on the road. But today we're going to take you for a first impressions drive on this CX-90 plug-in hybrid. But before we can do that, let's go ahead and start it up and walk you around it. Mazda's chimes so much. I think it's like 7 or 8 chimes. So pretty familiar chime there. You know that you're in a Mazda when you hear many blings. We'll walk you around the interior in just a second, but let's go ahead and hop out and see what this thing looks like. So we actually walked you around a CX-90 last month when we went to the first look event of this SUV, but we'll give you a bit of a reminder of what this thing looks like on the outside. Quite a presence with this thing and a lot of smooth body lines. We've got quite a flat front end on this thing, actually, to help with approach and departure. This does have 8 inches of ground clearance, so you can still do some sort of off-road driving with this car. We also have an off-road drive mode with this CX-90 as well, and we'll look at some of the drive modes a little bit later. But honestly, I'm a pretty big fan of how this SUV looks from the outside. They've done a good job making it kind of elegant. Mazda has been trying for the past 10 or so years to step up into that kind of middle ground of luxury for their line of cars, and this is quite the effort now, especially the fact that they're offering an inline 6 with this platform. It really just brings this whole idea to the next level. Take a look here at the back of the car. The side of the car is almost concave. You can see behind that front fender, as savage geese interrupt me, they're somewhere. Even in California, we've still got savage geese. This is our charge door for the plug-in hybrid car. We've got about 26 miles of plug-in hybrid range, or of electric range, I should say. Take a look here in the back. Under here, we've got our charge cable as well as a toolkit over here on the right, and a couple places to put some extra things. It's a Hayabusa, I think. I don't know, Charlie from Daily Motor is around here somewhere. He'll be with us for the drive. I don't know where he's gone, but he would have been able to tell us what sort of bike that was. Anyways, so we do have a third row seat in the CX-90, of course, and we will hop back there in just a second, but I want to fold this down and show you guys what kind of room we have here in the back of the CX-90 with the seats down. So it's not completely flat, it's sloping upwards slightly, but it's a pretty low load surface, so you're able to kind of set things in here, slide them in as you'd like. We've got a normal outlet back here as well as a car charger style, cigarette lighter style, and we've got those on both sides. Pretty neat. Okay, let's pull these third row seats back up. Ooh. This is the top trim of the plug-in hybrid. This is the Premium Plus. So this thing's about $57,000. So keep that in mind as we do our walk around, as you're looking at materials and whatever else. Get my backpack out of the way so we can move this all the way forwards. Hop back into that third row seat. All right, sitting back here, this is a little bit far forwards, but as far as my knees being in my face, it's not horrible. And what's really funny about this is I feel like I have more room in this CX-90 than I did in the Toyota Sequoia, which is like an entirely different class of SUV for size. We've also got some amenities back here. We've got 2 cup holders on either side. We've got USB-C ports, and overall, it's not too bad. I think that I could survive back here as an adult. I wouldn't want to do a long journey in this particular third row seat, but I've got the headroom and my knees aren't completely in my face, so that is a pretty good thing. Let's check out the second row. Stick the backpack over there, and we'll go ahead and sit back here. All right, we've got some sunshades back here to block out the sun. Got some nice detailing on these door panels. We'll talk more about that once we're up front. Let's just talk about some things that we have back here. We have our own climate control panel with heated rear seats. These button clicks feel very nice. Like that. Love me a good physical button. 2 USB-C ports back here as well. We do have a little bit of intrusion here from the drive shaft. Of course, with this being a rear-wheel drive biased car, we do have to leave room in here for the drive shaft and the transmission, the trans tunnel, everything to go back to power the rear wheels. So you will see a little bit of a different design than you'd normally see in a front-wheel drive biased or front-wheel drive only SUV. But that's okay. We're willing to trade the rear-wheel drive architecture for some space. And you know what? This isn't that big of a deal. I still have plenty of room in the back of this CX-90, and especially when you have the captain's chairs, it really makes no difference. Okay, let's walk you around to the front of the car and take a look under the hood at this 2.5 liter. And it's wanted to fire up for me since I've opened the hood. Kind of strange. Ooh, that opens. Holy crap. Is it going to continue? It is. That opens very high. Okay, so here we go. Here's our 2.5 liter. You can see e-SKYACTIV plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Pretty simple looking under here, just kind of a big piece of plastic. But this is cool because it's actually Mazda's first mass-produced plug-in hybrid car for the North American market. So this is something totally new. We've got the first plug-in hybrid, and then we also have the first inline 6 in the other car. So this car is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big stepping stone for Mazda's space here in North America. So kind of neat. See if I can reach this hood to, oh goodness. Okay. Massive hood, opens very high, and now it's okay, well, I just wanted you all to hear it run. I hear noises. Charlie. Okay, let's hop in up front here, and we'll show you the layout of the cockpit of the CX-90, where I'm happy to report it's a pretty cool vibe up here. It's very bright, it's very airy. The driving position is very commanding. I've got the seat all the way low, and I can still see the front of the hood, which is quite nice. We've got a split folding armrest, lots of bright colored materials in this car, which is very nice that they give you the option to do so. The white on white spec, panoramic moonroof, there's somewhere to put your sunglasses. And we've got this big infotainment display here, which is not a touchscreen when you're in its Mazda mode, but when you're in CarPlay, it does act as a touchscreen. So pretty standard for what we've seen from Mazda in the past. You have to use the command knob if you're in the in-house mode here, and you can touch for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. We've got a big physical climate control menu here, which is excellent, or I should say panel. I shouldn't say menu, this is a panel. You've got heated and cooled seats, you've got a heated steering wheel. Just like that second row climate panel, these buttons feel great. They do nice clicks. You can see you've got up and down there for your heat. You've got dual climate control, of course, and this is all very straightforward, and it works. They would have had no reason to not give you a physical climate control panel. This is excellent. I'm so glad that they were able to leave this in here. Drive mode selector down here makes a good click as well. 4 drive modes, pretty simple: sport, normal, EV, and off-road. Get to the point. Do you want sport? Do you want normal? Would you like to drive with electricity, or would you like to go off-road? There's no Sport Plus. There's no comfort alongside of normal. It's just about perfect for drive modes unless you were to eliminate drive modes altogether. So that's a good thing. We've got EV charge mode here, which will start our motor up. You can see over here on the left-hand gauge, we've got a little icon here. We've got about 5 miles of EV range left. I've been driving with Charlie from Daily Motor, and he did his video first, so he used up quite a bit of our EV range, and we can yell at him for that. Charles, I'm telling the viewers that you used all of my EV range. Yes, you did. Okay. So as he makes his way over here, we'll take a look at just a few more things on this interior. I love that Mazda always gives at least some amount of leather on the dashboard, and it's no different in here with the CX-90. The actual feel of this interior is just so high-end. We are, of course, with Charlie from Daily Motor.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. And I was just showing how bright this interior is.
Yeah, I do like the colors because it adds an airiness to the cabin, but since you're still a fan of dark, it gives you a little bit of starker color leather here.
That's right. Well,
to make it look mature.
Exactly. And I like how Mazda always gives some sort of a leather on their dash. No matter what, they'll have some sort of leather strip there.
Although we never know, because we never get a chance to drive base Mazdas.
That's true.
They only keep us in
We
the
only
top
drive
ones.
Premium Plus.
Did you notice that the back is very bulbous?
A little bit. It's almost like it's somebody wearing a rubber band around themselves.
Yes.
Because the front is very sleek and short.
Well, and here's the thing. I was about to complain about it, but then I realized if they didn't do that, it would be like all the other new crossovers that slope for style and lose practicality. This, look at all the third row headroom. Did you sit back there for
I did sit back there, and there's more room than the Toyota Sequoia in the rear.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting, this is 7.5 inches longer in wheelbase than the Mazda CX-9. It's quite a bit longer.
I bet we're about to feel the effects of that on this
And we're about
road.
to feel the effects of that. Yes, of course, I've waited to show all of you driving impressions until we got to a nice, spirited driving road. So we're going to go out and do that right now. So let's talk about this shifter before we take off. So this may look like a shifter that you kind of just bump into drive and bump up into reverse, but it actually locks into place. So we're over in park right now. You can see that lit up here on the left-hand side. You push over to get yourself into reverse, down to put yourself into drive, which is not at all what I was expecting. I was very thrown off by this when I got into the car for the first time. So then when you go into park, up and over. So, you know, it's not my favorite shifter in the world, but it's decently easy to get used to. I think they could have done just fine with a shifter that kind of went up and snapped back BMW style, because of course BMW no longer gives you a shifter. They now have just a little guy. The main impression that I've gotten from the CX-90 thus far driving it on the way here is just how quiet it is. It fits in with this whole new style of Mazda that they've been trying to push now for the past 5 to 10 years, and this is really the flagship of all of that. It's the biggest car, it's the car with the newest technology, and it is certainly the quietest.
Did you enjoy the motorcyclist who sang the song of his people driving by?
Yes, well, I was like...
I told him to drive by you.
Was that a Hayabusa?
It was. Good job.
I should be very proud of me.
Yeah. Usually you would just call that a crotch rocket.
Yeah. All right, pulling out here onto the road. Let's give her the beans. Thank you. Charlie there selecting sport mode for us. So it's worth noting that this only has about 17 less horsepower than the Turbo S inline 6 car. And it has the same amount of torque. So you're still getting quite a bit of performance. Of course, you're not going to get that beautiful inline 6 sound, but this thing properly scoots. Very smooth shifts from that 8-speed wet clutch automatic transmission. Haven't noticed any missed shifts or rough shifts while we've been driving the car. Seems to do a pretty good job. Steering feel is nice. It's pretty much just about what I was expecting. Charlie says it's too heavy, but I think that it's a nice sweet spot between being too heavy and too light. Charlie?
This is your video. I'm not gonna weigh
you're allowed to weigh in.
Daily Motor for my impressions.
Quite a bit of piped in engine noise there, and it gets a bit more dramatic in sport. Let's try normal. Maybe it doesn't get more dramatic in sport, actually. gear changes are smooth. They're not the sharpest thing in the world. You don't really get any audible note for changing gear, like a snap or a pop or anything like we like to hear from the ZF gearboxes. All right, let's stop and do an acceleration and see how this CX-90 gets off the line. Pretty quick there, but it's almost like it limits itself from like the transmission or something. You get like this weird delay. It's almost like it's slipping the clutch when you're taking off, so it doesn't hit super hard. Quite a bit of body roll. You got to remember this is still a 5,200 pound SUV. The plug-in hybrid weighs about 500 pounds more than the inline 6 car, so not only does it have a little bit less power, it also weighs a little bit more, so that's worth keeping in mind. This is the trim you buy if you aren't super interested in doing any spirited driving, but if you want to, it's still there. It still has this new platform that's shared with the 6-cylinder car. You're still able to hustle this thing. And it feels pretty good. I mean, for a 3-row SUV, you can't expect it to feel like a Porsche 911. This feels about adequate for a 3-row SUV. I mean, you can definitely tell that it's been somewhat set up to be able to do spirited driving with the rear-wheel drive with the rear-wheel drive platform. But I mean, I don't know. We kind of talked about this earlier, where some people are going to get into this and expect it to just, you know, handle like a sports car, but that's just simply not the point of this vehicle. I somehow still have 4 miles of EV range. So as far as power split goes, we've got 189 horsepower from our 4-cylinder and 173 horsepower from that electric motor. So quite a bit of oomph there behind you from that electric motor. You can certainly tell. I thought that this was turbocharged when I got into it, but it is not. So definitely don't want to let that electric motor run out, because then you're down to 180 horsepower.
Yeah, the vehicle will manage the amount of juice left in the battery different whether you're in normal mode or you're in EV mode. Normal mode,
yes,
it'll stop it at about, I think there's like, say 20% charge left or remaining or so. In EV mode, it'll get down to more like 10% charge to really stretch you in if you want to drive it like a full EV.
Yes, that's good to know. Are we in EV mode right now?
Yes,
we are in EV mode.
Well, you're driving on electric, but you're normal mode.
Okay, I didn't know what mode you put me into.
EV,
okay.
You'll see gauge changes a little bit.
That's right, yeah. So we do actually have different gauge displays for each mode. If we go down into off-road, you'll see them change as well.
And I actually do quite like that screen.
Yeah, a little bit more of a rugged look, and you get a compass. It's nice of them. Let's go back into normal here.
You'll notice now the EV mode is grayed out, and I assume that's because...
Ooh, sport.
You don't have charge left.
Yes.
It is funny how quickly that sound goes away when you get off the throttle. It just goes back to normal motor sound.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. It feels good. Steering tightens up nicely for you in sharp corners. Oh, but you can definitely feel the 5,200 pound curb weight of this thing. I'm looking forward to getting into the inline 6, because that will kind of conclude my thoughts on this car.
It's good to do this one first.
Definitely, yeah. I was just gonna say that. Get the plug-in out of the way first, and then end the day in the inline 6 car.
The rotation is nice, though. The back end comes around for you.
Yeah, definitely. And what's nice about this plug-in hybrid powertrain is that you've got that instant torque from that electric motor to boost you out of the corners, and we just felt that back there. It's not the worst sound in the world from this 4-cylinder, even though it's piped in. It's better than the noise that Honda gives you.
And Hyundai, Kia.
And Hyundai, that's right, yeah. It sounds more authentic from this CX-90.
Yeah, a non-car person would probably think that's just the sound of the engine.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so let's drop ourselves back down into normal mode and let's talk about how this CX-90 rides. So we have a double wishbone suspension setup in the front and a multi-link suspension setup in the rear. And this has been developed specifically for this CX-90, for this rear-wheel drive platform. And it feels nice. I mean, it's damped nicely, it floats down the road. You can feel this car thinking when you're going around corners with the kinetic posture control, they call it, which is basically just like a stability control.
Well, it's a brake biasing, so like if Chris were taking this corner hard to the right, it can actually apply a little bit of inner brake to help the car rotate around that pivot point.
Yes, that. So you can definitely feel that in motion when you're driving this thing hard, but when you're driving it normally, not only did we mention earlier how quiet this car is, but it also is very cozy. There's minimal road intrusion, and it's just a really nice place to be. It feels like a luxurious atmosphere.
Yeah, on the highway there was a good amount of initial suspension waft, but then the secondary ride, it compresses nicely.
Yes.
Or the compression and rebound both work nicely to smooth everything out after one big kind of woof.
Yeah, waft. I like that. I like that word. Yeah, you're right. So I would say good job on the suspension. I don't really have any complaints.
I'm impressed that the packaging doesn't provide a lot of compromise. You think, well, why doesn't everyone just do a rear-wheel drive platform for a vehicle like this? Because I was expecting it to be like, okay, well, yeah, we're obviously being compromised by the batteries, compromised by the fact that it's a rear-wheel drive layout, but nothing seems to be out of place.
No.
There's plenty of room, there's plenty of cargo, we're looking nicely over the hood. I mean, it's really a good setup.
Yeah, you can tell that they're really trying to make a statement with the CX-90, and you can tell that they put a lot of time and effort and money into developing this car.
Yes, have you talked about money yet to the viewers?
Yes, I have. I did in the beginning. This is a $57,000 car, and the Premium Plus Turbo S, which is the car that we're going to be driving later on, is just under $60,000. So you could pay just a couple grand more and get the Turbo S. But I appreciate the fact that they offer this in plug-in hybrid form. I mean, because like we said earlier, not everyone's going to want or care about having a turbo inline six. So it's nice that this car exists. I haven't driven the inline six yet, but I would probably have it.
Well, you can also get the inline six detuned for quite a bit less than
that
this.
Is true.
$4,000 less, and you're still getting over 300 pound-feet of torque and nearly 300 horsepower.
That's right. It is a bit confusing because when we did the walk around of this car, which you all watched, I'm sure, we talked about there being two different powertrains, which there are, but there's two different ways you can have the inline six. You can have it as the turbo or the Turbo S, which sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's a different company that, yeah. So the turbo, which is just the detuned version of the 3.3 liter, makes somewhere around 280 horsepower.
Exactly, 280.
280. Glad I remembered that. And you said 332 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
So we're able to have that. We won't be driving that car today. I'm sure we'll drive it at some point. But the plug-in hybrid is actually the mid-grade.
Yes.
So base model is a turbo inline six. In the middle, you've got the plug-in hybrid, and then the top trim is an inline six, but it makes quite a bit more power. I can get some city impressions. You know, Charlie,
You disagreeing with me on the steering?
No, I was just gonna say I kind of see what you mean. Here's the thing, it's tough to get steering right in this segment because you want to have the lightness for the luxury feel around town, because steering's a big deal in cars like this, in my opinion at least. But if you're driving up in the canyons or something, you still want to have a nice tight steering feel. So I don't know.
I can understand how you can empathize with them. I also feel like with electric power steering, you should be able to simply make it
switch it
heavier at higher speeds and sport mode and stuff.
Yeah, I want the steering to feel like a Lincoln Navigator when I'm in town, and I want it to feel like a BMW X7 when I'm up in the canyons.
You also feel a bit of the vagueness just off-center, though. It's like a woolly, kind of heavy.
It is a little woolly.
What's going on here kind of feel. It's not super direct.
There's a bit of a delay where it almost feels like the car has to think for a second before it reacts. And you feel that more so when you're driving around town. You don't really feel that as much when you're up driving spiritedly.
It would be difficult for me, and I know this is your video, but it would be difficult for me to come up with even petty things to complain about this car. The steering is about it.
The steering's about it. There are a couple of interior rattles.
Yeah, but you don't know how early of a build this car
That's true.
is.
Yeah, there are a couple of rattles, and it's only if you're going over very drastic unevenness in the road. But yeah, I usually like to give on first drives benefit of the doubt for interior rattles because you don't know if it's a pre-production car or not. Yeah, the 4-cylinder is a little grainy.
It is. Yeah, I could see how someone maybe would want the inline 6 for more of the luxury
For the smoothness,
experience. Yeah, which we can't comment on. But if you watch the other video on the TheTopher channel, that will probably come up first, realistically.
Yeah, yes, it will. I'm sure. Yeah. So this is the one you all will be seeing second. So you all will know what I think before I do.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Some final thoughts on the CX-90 plug-in hybrid. We've spent about another hour in this car, and it's been just quite a pleasant experience. We don't really have any major complaints with this car. One thing I did want to note that I didn't mention earlier is that the brake feel is actually quite nice. Sometimes when you're in a hybrid, or especially a plug-in hybrid, the brake pedal feel is very disconnected because of course you have that regen braking in there, and we feel that kind of, or I felt it in the new Mercedes C300 with the mild hybrid, and it was just a very unpleasant brake feel, but this one feels pretty nice. It feels quite linear, and you don't even really notice that you're braking a car that has any sort of regenerative draw from it, so that's a good thing. And also, we've been driving this quite spiritedly, and we've still managed 23.5 mpg average on our trip, so that's decently impressive. That would be another argument towards wanting to go for the plug-in hybrid. I personally still think I would go for the inline 6 just because it adds that cool factor to this SUV and having a bit more of a unique powertrain. But if you are someone that cares about MPGs like him, then you'd probably want to look into this plug-in hybrid variant of the CX-90. But overall, it's been a very cozy car. If you want to compare it to the competition, a Telluride, a Palisade, what else? Chevy Traverse, I wouldn't really compare it to that. Honda Pilot.
Even borderline Acura MDX when you're talking these prices?
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, like a higher end Telluride, a Palisade Calligraphy.
There's one right there. And
there's one right there. I think I'd have this. Actually, no, I don't think I'd have this. I would have this.
How about the Infiniti QX60?
Yeah, I'd have this all day.
Yeah, this is less intrusive.
This just feels a step above all of those cars. It feels like it's in a class above when technically it really isn't. A Palisade Calligraphy is going to top out somewhere around $52,000, and if you get the base engine in this car, Premium Plus, you're right around that level. Yeah, 53 grand. So my personal preference, I'd have the CX-90. So overall, a pretty solid offering here from Mazda, and I'm looking forward to getting behind the wheel of the inline 6 powered car and seeing what that one's like. But pretty impressed here with the plug-in hybrid offering. Still feels nice and proper. That'll end it for us today. Walk you around this car one more time. That'll be it. Cool, guys. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Just a first impressions video today. Of course, we'll get one of these back at the HQ. The TheTopher will get behind the wheel and give you guys some more driving impressions, but I hope you were able to get just a little bit of a taste of what this new CX-90 is like. And I cannot wait to get behind the wheel of the inline 6 car, which you all probably would have already seen, but that'll be it. Thank you guys all again so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.